it's been a little while since we've done one of these videos. December, obviously the store was closed during the holidays, and January took me kind of a lot of time to kind of catch up on things that hadn't been done whilst I was on my own holidays. So the month's highlights for January kind of really centre around growth of the store, with 330,000 parts being surpassed and 9,000 lots, and that has continued at the beginning of February as well. Despite it feeling kind of a sluggish month, certainly in those middle 2 weeks and the last week, it definitely felt slow. It turned out to be the best month in total for parts sold and in orders over the month. Maybe that is due to it being a 5-week month, on a par with October from 2023. And, there's a couple of 5-week months coming up as well. I think March might be one of those as well. So it could be interesting, or maybe it's June. Can't remember now. Anyway, and as part of the process of me adding parts to the wanted list and things like that, I've noticed an awful lot of price correction required. Things that I uploaded back in June, July, August, September have dropped quite a long way off of inventory averages, and whilst they're probably sitting around 6 months sell averages, kind of being able to see what's selling well and where it sits in the price point has been quite useful, and meaning you're doing it kind of gradually rather than kind of having to really go through 330,000 parts all at once. And for those that have followed the vlogs know there was a week in which kind of 73,000 odd parts were added in 1 week. And whilst that didn't add an awful lot in terms of items, it did add an awful lot of lots, which was useful. So as you can see, the store grew and continues to grow, especially in this first week of February, which is it's showing there in this graphic. So total sales by platform through January: 147 on Bricklink, 40 on Brick Owl. Brick Owl kind of seems to have steadied back down to a more sporadic nature than it did following kind of the Bricklink outage. It's dropped off 6% since then. Not a massive drop. I mean, kind of in those early months it was only accounting for maybe like 10%, so it's still holding its own, but that's the current sales difference, kind of 79 versus 21%, whereas kind of other sellers and kind of suggest it might be sitting about 60-40 for them. So interesting. New versus old. New clearly is kind of the majority of the store, and my used inventory has been depleting rapidly until this week when I've kind of replenished. So that has definitely fallen away, just kind of, it hasn't been that much available, and it only accounted for 2% of sales through January. It'll be interesting to see what that does through February, given that I've added a couple of thousand parts in the first week of used. In terms of total sales, kind of changed a few of these graphics so we can see how it's going. October, as I said, was a 5-week month, as is January, so they're probably comparable, 187 versus 180. November we had the Bricklink outage, and December I was closed for 9 days. So those two are probably on a par with each other, but as you can see, kind of December did drop away quite dramatically, whereas January has bounced back significantly. But as I say, I think much of that is driven by a 5-week month, although the daily sales were at 6, which is back up to where it was in October. Items sold continues to grow. So October items sold was 17,369. November obviously is a bit of a freak month because of the Bricklink outage. December, despite the store being closed for 9 days, was 20,300, which was a good increase on the month before. And then January has increased on that by 16.5% to 23,650, which is a great increase. And again, I caveat that with it being a 5-week month, so it will be interesting to see where we land on February's figures. So daily sales, I mean, clearly from this, Brick Owl continues to be steady. There's a couple of days where it doesn't feature at all, and I think there's 3 or 4 in there where it doesn't feature. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in fact. 5 through the month where there's no sales on Brick Owl at all. None where there wasn't one on Bricklink, which is good. The 23rd was the strongest day of sales throughout the month, and the average sales were 6 per day, which is the highest it's been and equals October's figure, I believe, from memory. But it's interesting again to see that there is no rhyme or reason. Kind of a Saturday morning on 3 of the 4 weekends was pretty good, and other than that, Thursdays tend to be a pretty strong day for whatever reason. So this gives us an overview of where we're at in terms of month on month. So you can see kind of a top line there, parts growing month on month. We started January at 332. We've gone up a little bit since then, or we ended January, at 332. Bricklink lots, we ended January at 9,110. Again, that's gone up a little bit since then. Bricklink fans continues to increase, which is great for the store. And as I said earlier, kind of the average sales at 6 is the highest it has been, which is unusual because as a month, it definitely felt like it was a slow month. And as anyone that watched the vlogs will know, kind of there was at least a week there where it felt like nothing was happening day on day. But ultimately, the month worked out like that. Total items sold in the month, the highest yet. Total orders, the highest yet, toppling October's total. YouTube continuing to grow, and again, kind of I think it's sitting at 650 as of today. Instagram followers slowly increasing. I know I don't do an awful lot on there, but kind of it does feel like a useful channel for developing a community, and there's some nice interactions with some other stores going on in there. And then the final block down the bottom there is just kind of showing kind of where the orders are coming from, and Victoria taking out the lion's share once again. The 3rd month running they've been the biggest outlet, which is interesting because they are kind of the place with the biggest stores as well, so or the biggest number of stores I should say, whereas Queensland probably has an equal amount of stores, I think. No, maybe it's New South Wales. One of them has the most. Anyway, yeah, a long way out in front of Victoria. But overseas orders kind of staying pretty steady month on month in those double figures. November and January kind of almost getting to the 20 mark, which is pretty decent, I think. I'm happy with that. It will be interesting to see, kind of, as I've said a couple of times throughout this, how February fares. So with all of that, this is where we're sitting in terms of store size within the Australian market. Within WA, we haven't moved position. We still sit in 7th, but we are closing the gap, although it's still a significant gap on 6th place, and it's quite a gap to get into that top 5, I'm telling you. And then over on the right hand side, we have climbed quite a lot. I can't quite remember where we were back in December's for November's end of, but I think we've climbed maybe 10 or 12 places up into 23rd position, and the top 20 is definitely within sight there, which is good. So February, what are we looking to do within the month? So replenishing the used inventory is underway. Obviously space issues are the kind of the limiting factor there. I'm looking to surpass 350,000 parts in the store and 9,600 lots, getting pretty close to that, but it's always going to be a struggle to keep that up as things sell. That's kind of the balancing act. Continue to clear out the part out backlog, pretty close to that, maybe 3 or 4 sets still to go, and then we're up to date. And increase storage space, and if people have been watching the vlogs, you will know kind of my thoughts on that and where we're going with that as I look to get towards the 500,000 parts target that I've set myself for the store. And that's it. That's January wrapped up. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.